Okay, so welcome to this third video for COMP3218 Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. My name's Dave Millard, I'm one of the lecturers on the course, and I'm here with...
Ryan Jamanshire. I'm a PhD student looking at transmedia storytelling. And
I'm Tom Blount, I'm also a lecturer on the course.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to have a look at a number of different student projects for the second coursework. Tom, do you want to just say a little bit about what we've asked the students to do?
So for this coursework was all about storytelling and narrative. We asked them to make another small game prototype, this time based off of one of 3 fairy tales. And the key thing for this coursework was the story engine, so a way for the game to impact the narrative and for the narrative to impact the game. Brilliant.
Okay, so our first game is called, unusually, The 7 Ravens. Alright, so let's try it out. So Ryan's in the hot seat. Okay, there's a raven.
we'll have a look at the controls.
Probably useful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we did the first of our courseworks was a tutorial thing, and I'd much rather people would have integrated it into the game.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to do that, or you run out of time, at least having a controls page is a useful idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
move, interact, and infantry. Cool.
Let's play.
There we go. So which one are you?
Okay.
The top one.
That's you
The
there.
little girl. Mum, she doesn't need to know what happened when she was a baby. She deserves to know. She's practically an adult now. She can handle finding out about her brothers. It's that awkward conversation about telling them your brothers are turned into ravens. How about it was our fault for dealing with a witch? Or maybe not. She's bound to find out someday. Okay, I quite like that. Overhearing the conversation's quite nice. Hello. Did you hear what we were saying?
It's interesting that they didn't give us a choice there.
No, yes.
Even a fake one.
Yeah. Like this. We're sorry. Yeah, it would have been a nice bit of false agency to give you a kind of, oh no, and then saying, oh well, how come you look so pale?
Well, even if they had just carried on with the next bit of the conversation and made no difference.
You'll want to find them, okay?
You'll want to find them. We're fine. We're just going to sit here.
I'm going to find them. So here we go. So this is a bit of, taking your agency away, so you dealing with the narrative paradox, right? Off you go. You're practicing out now. We can't stop you from just be safe. So this looks like it's a bit of false agency, right? Because presumably,
Whichever one we pick.
I will be.
We'll make a difference. All right. I guess we go off into the wide world. Thanks for all the
You can
clues.
You can push your parents.
Yeah. Thanks for all the clues, parents, about what to do and where to find them.
Well, it's just...
Here, go on.
that
Talk to them.
doesn't do anything.
Wait
No.
a minute. I might know what game this is. Let's carry on for a minute.
Okay, shall I leave?
Yeah, go on.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Let's go to the cat. Can we
The slightly blurry
Yes,
graphics
talk to the cat.
make me feel like I'm going blind. Oh, the cat's pushing us. Nice. Leave.
Okay.
Maybe it's giving me
Okay,
a clue.
go and talk to the little trolley fella. Dwarf. Hey kid, what are you doing?
What are we doing?
We want to
Let's go
save
save
our
our
brothers. The other one's got taken out by the witch. Okay, I'm prepared. Oh, what does he recommend? There's a group of sun-worshipping elves. They may know something. Okay, I like that. Sun-worshipping elves. Apples helping. I can't remember the details.
Okay, so we've got a little dialogue tree where we can keep asking for more information, and it's giving us hints about what to do next.
Was that to the north, they said? Should we go north?
Well, we need apples first.
Let's try going in here.
I'm not sure why, but we need
No,
apples.
can't go anywhere.
No. Is there a
Well,
shop?
we might find the apples up to the north.
Oh, maybe.
Right, let's go.
I was sort of wondering whether it was going to be like a Hansel and Gretel style
That's what I was thinking.
trail of apples, isn't it? Okay, so again, use of paths to tell you where to go.
Very nice. Loading screen.
Okay, you're right. There are the apples.
So no, you can remember which way you went though, can't you? So leave that apple down.
Okay. Discard. Let's try that.
Alright.
And then you can go the other way.
What
Oh,
can
the
we read?
apple's gone.
Can we read the sign?
Remember where you've been. So we could. So my suggestion would be to pick up the apple from the direction we go.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
fine. So if we go,
If I can't leave.
So if we leave an apple on one side.
How do you?
I think if you discard it, it just disappears.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. So
Sorry,
we might have blown it, but let's go for it.
This one's got a signpost on it. It's fine.
Oh,
There's
there's an apple there.
There's an apple around there.
Oh, hang on a minute. Well,
Should I pick up the apple?
if they just get discarded, how are we supposed to use them to remember where we've been?
I don't know. Let's just try going left. What? We've got... I was going to say, we've got 2 status bars up in the top left, but no, that's the pause button.
That's the pause one, yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. So we're back here again,
Let's
probably.
just see if it takes us. Yeah.
So let's go down. So
Sorry.
unless the apples tell us where to go.
Take that apple and then see if... And then go left again and see if it's the same place.
But we won't know.
Well, we will if there's an apple there when we go left.
There's no apple.
Okay.
Okay.
Turn a certain combination of flames on, and then you just have to figure out which ones in combination and turn them all on. Anyway. Hello.
How are you? I'm doing very well.
Have an apple. Oh, so this is what the apples are for.
Can't we pick them up then?
I should go. Okay. Can we go into the temple?
Should I give him an apple?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
I try going in. Okay. Talk to monk. Welcome, child. Help us with the witch. Oh, yes. Even for you?
So should we start running through some of the marks?
Say your help? Yeah, go on. Yes, we probably should.
Because otherwise we're going to be here forever.
Find what you need to overcome her magic. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of this, isn't there? What do we think about the presentation?
So the music's very nice. I haven't been paying attention. Does it change by area, or is it just this nice sort of lilting?
I think it changes.
I felt like it changed when we came in the temple.
Here, yeah.
Okay.
And the looks good. Right? The graphics are nice.
Yeah.
There's kind of,
I think some of the background textures were a bit fuzzier than some of these nice sharp.
yes, especially the village we started in. That was quite.
But otherwise, yeah, they're really nice.
That was quite blind inducing.
Okay, one switch down. So yeah, the music's good. The overall aesthetics are consistent. They're quite nice.
So information. So I mean, we've
Got our inventory. It's on a separate screen, and we can see what
it's
each
clear.
are.
It's nice and sharp.
And even things just like the buttons and the switches, it's very clear when they're pressed or not.
Yes.
The puzzles are sort of very clearly sort of laid out. So here are some rocks. Here are some buttons.
Yeah.
Here are some torches. Here are some switches. Even that works quite nicely.
So I think you're right. I think it's quite nice. So good here would be key information is shown clearly, graphics are consistent, and appropriate use of audio. I think it definitely hits that.
Yeah.
Excellent would be key information shown clearly, consistent and appealing graphics, and good use of audio. So I would say that.
So I'd say maybe if we had some extra feedback from, say, the switches or something like other little bits of audio, or just some other sort of thing when we start talking to a person, you get.
And then we got that slight problem with the set of graphics being at slightly wrong res at the beginning. But
so it might not be quite an excellent. It might be
halfway between the two.
It might be halfway between the two.
This is a tad fiddly.
How about gameplay? So, the mechanics, the controls. What's it like to control, right?
It's a little bit difficult, especially with.
You might be stuck now.
Yeah, I'm going to try and push it against. If you move around like that, it might. Come on.
Oh, you can stand on it.
Okay, what happened there?
We're closed again.
Okay, let's try again.
This might work.
There we go.
Yeah. But it looks like the controls kind of work pretty well, and they might be a bit fiddly, but
it's functional. It's nothing majorly wrong. It's just a little bit,
mechanics. I mean, you've got exploring. You've got the switches. You have the different flicking of different switches. You've got the mechanics.
You've got that path through the forest that loops you back around to yourself.
Yeah, so there's a nice set of. I say there is a good set of complementary mechanics that leads to meaningful play. That would be good.
I think those fiddly bits where it's very difficult to actually pick something up probably stops it from being excellent. But I'd definitely say that it's good.
Yeah. And well, the other thing is it meaningful play? Is it enjoyable play? So again, I think it's definitely meaningful play.
Yeah, I think the different sets of little individual puzzles are actually quite nice.
See, I think it might be halfway to excellent. I think they've got it again. It's like one or two little fiddly bits.
There have been a lot of games in this sort of vein where it's go and talk to an NPC. They tell you the next bit of the story. Go and talk to a different NPC. Yeah. Whereas this one, it breaks it up with those little puzzle sections.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say we go between the two then.
Right.
So, and in terms of bugs, we've been playing for a little while now. I mean, it looks like it's fairly bug-free. Have you noticed anything, Ryan? Has you gone around any kind of glitches?
The only little one I've found is when you're trying to speak to people or pick up items, it's a little bit fiddly to get that to work.
And you also had that bit where you were kind of conversation and the cat was shoving you along.
Oh yeah.
But they're really minor.
Yeah, nothing game-breaking.
So, good would be minor bugs, and these are uncommon, and excellent would be no bugs despite the complexity of the game. It's quite complex. There's quite a lot going on here.
Yeah, relatively. Again, I think it might be between the two rather than
I'd
fully in the excellent. But
okay.
That's Castle then. Okay, brief-wise.
Story engine.
Oh, there's an axe. Grab that axe. We're going to need that. So the music is changing based on the area.
It is.
That's really nice.
It's also zoomed in on
zoomed
this
in,
part.
yeah. Ooh. Oh, so now we're kind of
So again, actually more mechanics are cropping up as we go through.
Yeah.
Story engine-wise, though,
there's a lot here.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of content.
There's a lot of sort of mechanics and gameplay. I'm a little bit worried how much of it is affecting the story. Though.
Yeah. So it's been a while now as well since we've had any kind of story elements, right? So I'm trying to remember what we started with.
So we had a conversation with our parents where they said, "Go find your brothers."
We overheard them.
And
that's been it so far, I think.
And then the dwarf told us, well, you'll have to fight a witch, so you'll want to talk to the elves. And then he said, actually, he did say, when we got back, he said, aha, I see you've been to the elves. So that did change.
Okay, so in terms of the story engine, we're just looking to see whether the engine underneath this is capable of doing this. So in that case, you've got the game world is changing according to the story, because he's saying something different to us. But are we making any story decisions which are changing the game world?
Not at the moment, because I've just collected the ring, which was the only option really, and then the game world changes after you've collected the ring. So it's not really me making a choice to collect the ring, it's kind of what I have to do.
No, well, I'm not sure it does actually. I think you can go to the castle straight away.
Oh, you can?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it will affect the ending potentially. But we'll have to actually get there to find out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not. But if it does happen, it happens at quite
a late stage.
Infrequently and at quite a late stage, and it might be to do with a different ending or something like that rather than anything else. So we might have to return to Story Engine because I think it's not clear to me that it's working enormously well. What about Agency? Did they hand in a structure for a narrative?
So they didn't hand in a diagram of the structure, like we asked them to, but they did give us a little paragraph or two explaining some of the choices you can make. However, mostly, so they say the player's first choice is where to go. So they can choose to either go straight to the castle or they can go to the forest and find the elves, which is fine. I'm not sure how much impact that as a choice has. If the player chooses to go to the forest, they're faced with their first challenge, making it to the end of the forest. Okay, fair enough. On their way, there are some clues, which they may or may not notice. When the player gets to the end, they arrive at the Sun Temple and they can get an item that could change the tide for the player, but they don't say how. And bearing in mind, that's kind of nice brief for if you're writing some dialogue to go along with your game, but for giving it to us to understand the consequences of your choices, you should probably go into a little bit more detail there.
So here's my problem at the moment. So satisfactory for Agency would be an interactive story with several branching points and a few interesting choices. And at the moment, I've not really seen any branching points.
I think that's the entrance.
Okay.
And I've not really seen us have to make any interesting choices at all.
So the last bit they mentioned is once we're in the castle, once we find the witch, we are... the player has the choice between several possible answers each time, and the answers depend on which items the player is carrying with them.
Okay.
But again, agency-wise, there was no reason for us to pick up that axe at the start other than...
No. So...
And that leads to 6 different endings. So I think,
At least to different endings according to what they've got.
So I guess it's going to be a case of how they frame that choice. If it's a case of you have the axe, so you can decide to attack the witch rather than or trade with an apple for the freedom.
Then
of
that shows some kind of interaction with the story.
Yeah, but if it's just a case of you've got this particular combination of items and therefore you get this ending, that's less.
It does require us to actually find the witch though.
Yeah, I think I'm either being stupid or it's just really difficult.
So stick with the left hand rule. So just keep your left hand on every wall.
I've already been up there. Shall I go back? So I think that's the entrance.
So the entrance,
I believe.
That's where you came in.
There's a sapphire here.
Try just pressing interact on it just in case it is something. Alright, cool.
So you came in there?
Yeah, I think.
So there are markings on the walls, so 2A and 1C and whatever, but it's not clear what they do.
Okay. As they did end.
Thrilling and interactive gameplay.
Oh, so what's off to the right then?
I think that's 2A, yeah.
So do you know what those mean?
So if you go right up to it, it doesn't give you an interaction prompt, does it?
No.
So why does it say 2A?
I don't know what that means.
We go up to go up.
Go up.
Yeah, keep going up. Okay.
We've gone very quiet now.
Yeah, because we're trying to figure out what on earth we're doing. So again, it's a good idea when you know you're handing something in that's going to be play like this.
When it's going to be marked by some people who have got limited time, but also if you're going to put this in oh no, don't you dare.
2A? So they're giving us clues around the...
Now we've got
4B.
Oh god, no, don't...
That's a bit mean.
If you're going to do that, don't put it in a maze. or tell us the bloody answers.
Have they given us the answers in their notes?
I'll double check.
Which would have been a very, very wise thing to do.
Not that I can see.
So what, we'll give ourselves a couple of minutes to see if we can find it, and then we can carry on talking as we go.
Okay.
So in terms of the agency, then, so they've got multiple endings. So a pass would be an interactive story with some branching points but few interesting choices, right?
1C.
Wait, is this telling us the order? So is it C, A, B?
Oh yeah, it could be.
If we can find our way back there, let's just try and do that, because then we can brute force our way through it.
Or it could be press C
Yeah,
once.
it could be, but
Let's see. I think we're going the right way.
I hope we're going the right way. But yeah, so the main choice that they talk about in their game report is: do you choose to go to the forest or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 2B, wasn't it? So we know that B is second.
No, it was 2A, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
2A.
1C, 2A.
People watching can rewind the video and find out.
Oh, that one stayed there. And we didn't get a little sound effect. Hey! Look at this, we solved a thing.
Let's try B. No.
Cool.
Okay.
Ah, so now we know which order it is.
It was CADB.
We did it, Reddit. Hey! And you get a little sound effect when...
Yeah.
Nice.
Right, well, here's the Ravens.
Alright. Talk to the dwarf.
Again.
Oh.
She's
Why
up
are
the
you
window.
here?
Good luck. Thank you, I think.
Why are you here? How did you get through
Thank
that
you,
door?
Random Dwarf.
Pick up
Go talk to the witch.
Take
What shall I take?
take the fruit. No, everyone knows witches are weak to radishes, right?
Radish.
That's...
Oh no, you can't get the right.
There you
Okay.
go.
Radish.
How have we got a radish? And you're not looking very healthy.
Where are my brothers? Oh, you can threaten or offer money.
We don't have any money though.
Okay.
Should we
Well,
threaten?
let's threaten her. Oh, with axe. I wonder if that's what led us to threaten her then. If you come with me, why? Oh, you'll make a fine servant. No, I don't think so. I'll take the last one. No? Okay. Very well. How you are? Just do it by force. Okay, so this is our combination. Oh, she's a raven as what?
Dun dun dun. Hey, we got a cutscene.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, so we defeated her. She turned into a raven or something, and then we.
Yeah, that was a bit
That was-
quick.
A little bit. Yeah.
I appreciate the fact they tried to use a different mechanism to get it across. Right, let's go through this. So story engine then. So
So they talk about some areas only unlock when you've had a certain interaction with an NPC or a puzzle.
Yeah.
And players use objects to open new possibilities.
So okay. So that's true. So there were definitely some bits that unlocked because we talked to somebody, and there was that bit at the end where we had the threaten option because we had the axe. So the story engine is there, and it does go both ways, but it's quite limited.
Yeah.
Kind of all culminates at the end, doesn't it?
So a satisfactory would be a simple story which does
Limited integration.
limited integration, but one or the other, and good would be with some integration and both. And it kind of feels like there is both, but it's quite limited.
I think it's
probably in
limited
between.
enough. I think it's limited enough that it might drop it down to satisfactory still, but
So, yeah, despite the fact, yes, okay, I think that's probably true, just because of the fact that the progression thing is almost like the lowest thing you could do. So that's still not bad though, satisfactory mark. I think the problem might be the agency stuff. Mm-hmm. So, what do we have? What branching choices do we have here?
do you go to the forest or not? And do you pick up that? So also,
what choices do we have?
We went all the way through that forest
Yeah.
to get to that temple, to get to that puzzle, to get to that ring.
Yeah.
What impact did that actually have?
Yeah.
Perhaps they give us an extra option I didn't pick at the end.
Maybe that's what turned her into a crow. But that's the fact that we're not sure means that they didn't.
And it comes down to, again, it's the choices. We have interesting choices. If you don't know what you're doing, then the choices aren't interesting.
If it is in a case of at the end, it's just a list of 6 choices, and each one says like brackets axe or brackets radish or brackets ring, then we'd have known. Okay, I picked this up previously, so I could do this, and it'd also signpost. Oh, okay, maybe other items would have not.
Or even when you picked it up, so an axe that looks very threatening.
Yeah,
just this things like that. So it feels to me in terms of the agency. Pass would be an interactive story with some branching points but few interesting choices. At best, it feels like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Poor is an interactive story with few branching points, a few interesting choices, and player agency is problematic. It actually feels a bit more like that to me.
Yeah, you could be charitable and say those 6 options at the end are 6 branches.
Yeah, they are. That's true.
And if the game was slightly shorter and we could go through and test those things out, or that it included exactly how they're changing their notes, we'd be able to know. So
our normal rule is if we end up talking about it, we kind of err on the side of being a bit more generous. So if we went halfway between poor and a pass?
I think halfway between is fair.
Yeah. So that's for agency. Okay, do you want to start off again and we'll have a chat about the rest of it. So what about the poetics? So this is the themes of the story, the look and feel, whether that fits, and the mechanics. So the literal theme is there, the kind of saving your brothers from the ravens that's going on.
The overall story premise is there.
Mechanics, solving the puzzles, it's
another one of these adventure games where we give items to NPCs and it opens the next bit of the story, but the story is the story is not about giving items to people. Yeah, and it's not told through the mechanics of what they do.
So I think for the poetics, so satisfactory again is narrative and gameplay do not interfere with one another, but the key mechanics have little to do with the themes of the story.
And I think that's absolutely where it is.
It's there again. Yeah. It's a satisfactory one.
I do like that they've just added an interaction with the cat just because. That's a nice touch.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff here. I mean, I would say they deserve congratulations, but actually, I think that's probably a problem. That they've got too much content. So techniques. So what do you think of the pacing? What do we think about? They've got that little scripted bit at the end. That's quite cute.
Yeah, they've got a little sort of cutscene type.
It could be better done, but it's there.
I think. What do you think about the pacing? Because you've got sort of a puzzle, and then you've got a sort of a slightly more like dialogue-y bit. And
you definitely got a climax at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not bad. Again, it's one of those ones where I think they've had a go at it, but it hasn't quite worked. So they've got kind of like you said, they've got the bit at the beginning where you overhear your parents, and then you kind of accept the quest. They've got this bit here where you go and kind of go through the puzzles, and like you said, you've got the climax at the end with the witch. I think it does work.
Actually, I'm going to try going back to the witch.
So actually, I think they may have done quite well here, really.
I can't.
Because I think you've got ascending pacing with a clear final peak. You've got the use of more than one game writing technique. That would put them in the good category.
Yeah, I think it's.
I don't think it's necessarily got more than one peak. It doesn't feel like it's got a natural bit to it, but it's certainly good.
Yeah, I think so.
And what do they say? What feedback did they get?
So initially they'd been considering a larger focus on the NPC's dialogue and figuring out if what they say is true or not, so a sort of slightly more detective-y aspect to the game.
Yeah.
Or if their character has been manipulated by the witch. However, that on top of all of these little puzzles they've created would have felt a bit disjointed.
Yeah.
So because of that, they removed the sort of NPC analysis part in favour of focusing on the puzzles. The interactive conversations are still present, especially at the end of the game, but now your choices are influenced by how much exploration the player has done to reduce the scope of the game. Though they still have conversation trees, inventory, and puzzles.
Yeah.
And even they say some of these may have been a bit too. That they may have overscoped some of it.
Yeah. So I think that is a sensible choice. I think to focus on the puzzles and what you've done. That is a meaningful thing to do. That is a meaningful thing to do. I think.
Again, they could have taken it a little bit further, and like they say, they even acknowledge that some of these parts feel a little bit sort of unfinished because they try to do so much.
So satisfactory would be feedback was articulated and some changes have been attempted with partial success. And that feels about right here.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should probably move on.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so our next game is called, slight variation, The Seven Deadly Ravens. So I'll be interested to see what makes these deadly.
So I think this is one I saw in the expo. So
Oh, I like the style.
Ryan, you can take the helm and see if you can figure out what's
Nice,
on.
nice little waterfall effect.
Yeah, actually.
Hearts off on the left hand side. Presumably that's your health. It's good.
Something on the bottom.
Little red hoodie. Ooh, press E to talk. I am old and tired and my journey's at its end. Go forward without me. Take this ring. Okay, so straight into it. Use left mouse or J to shoot.
So I recommend you use J to shoot.
It says ammo 70 in the top left hand corner, although it is pretty small.
Yeah. And that is kind of important.
I won't use any ammo yet.
Okay. So. Oh,
Okay.
what was a slight shame about the tiled background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be nice to mirror it and then have a flawless background. But I do like the style. It's nice.
So this is the first of your 7 brothers. He's defeated now, so you can go and have a chat with him.
There is more you should know. How do we know that?
How do you know what?
One
he's
to
defeated?
save or
That
two
he's
to
one of
kill.
our brothers.
It's never said explicitly, except that he says this as
Yeah.
so
Press
have a
1 to
choice
save,
here.
2 to kill. I see. Okay, well, let's save him.
Yeah, that's safe.
So
got
again,
loads of
trying
those.
to balance sort of morality with mechanical game, which is kind of
This
nice.
fight has been
That's
too much for
interesting.
me already. I need to continue.
That's how Father sent us to get the water for you. I didn't even want to go, it seemed too much work. Anyway, go ahead and save the rest of our brothers. Okay?
Okay, and now we sort of descend into like the full game, if you like, and it sort of opens up. So there are 6 other brothers,
Yeah.
and you can go and explore. That's
Oh,
yeah, that kills you
Oh, okay.
because there are skulls on them.
Yeah.
That's how you should know. Which is not super clear. I think if they'd made
Oh,
them
I was-
spikes or something, it would be
Yeah.
a lot more obvious that that's bad for you.
I have to say again, really nice, simple graphics though.
But they've signposted it, which is good. And also, it's they've
So I was going to say one odd thing. So you mentioned about making the moral choice. But it looks to me like the way you defeat your brothers is just by shooting them.
yes,
So presumably they all take the same amount of ammo to kill.
yes. So,
So-
you might have noticed because you've been shooting enemies throughout, you probably aren't going to have enough ammo to defeat all of those brothers.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Because you started off with 70.
Yep.
So if you use any of your ammo at all to shoot anybody else,
And you like miss a single shot.
yeah. Because I couldn't see that. It looked like maybe he shot us, and at the same time as we shot him, and that stopped one of our bullets as well.
I think so.
Potentially get a different ending depending on how good you are.
Yeah. Though I never finished this game in the expo because you only have like 7 or 8 hearts, and it's very difficult to get all the way through this.
Good. As we are demonstrating.
So one other thing that I'm tempted to talk about it now rather than wait.
Yeah, I think we're unlikely to finish. It looks like we're about to.
There we go.
So if we hit retry, does it take us back? Yeah, it takes us right
Yeah,
back
we
to
go
the
right
beginning.
So also,
So-
it's very easy to miss that guy who is just standing at the top there. But if you
Yeah.
don't go and talk to him, A, you don't get any of the narrative premise,
Yeah,
and B, you also can't shoot anything.
yeah.
So
Oh, interesting.
when I was speaking
Yeah.
to them in the
Why,
expo, I
why
said,
is it not blocking your path?
why is it not blocking your path?
Unless it gives you a different ending, not having a gun.
Well, you can't end it without.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Don't shoot anybody. We need all 70.
So the other
Just
thing
jump
is,
over 'em.
one of the sort of things they've tried to convey thematically through this is each brother represents a deadly sin.
Oh, okay. Probably ought to have made that a bit more.
Yeah. So I'm not sure which
Obvious.
the first one is. I think some of the later
Dracula?
ones are.
Like you can shoot him.
Oh yeah, I've got to kill that one, haven't I?
But don't let him shoot your bullets. If he shoots your bullets, you're doomed. Nice. Okay, let's start going through some of the things here. So
this one.
In terms of the quality of the presentation, graphics are nice.
Yeah.
Any sound?
I don't think so. I think we've got the volume on.
Controls. What's it like to let's finish the presentation first. So
Information.
So you've got the ammo, you've got the hearts. It's on there. It's a little bit small and hidden away.
Yeah.
That might be a resolution problem.
And again, some of these
yeah. Although
death
you
traps are.
also flash when you lose a life, which is a nice sign. That
it's obvious that they're hurting you once they're hurting you. But when I was sort of playing this the first time, I was just like, oh, an alternative route, I can avoid these things. But no.
So good would be key information is shown clearly, graphics are consistent, appropriate use of audio. So I think the information is shown clearly, I think the graphics are consistent.
No audio
though. So I think that might drop it down to a satisfactory.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, gameplay. So now this is a question about the controls. Is it good to control?
I think you probably jump too high, but apart from that, it's okay.
You say that your jumps definitely seem to be too short for these platforms.
Yeah, the platform
you're
layout's a
only
bit
just making it. They're not super
They're
forgiving.
really difficult.
That could maybe be later level.
So if I were you, I would skip that guy and just go for take a different route first round. But remember to talk to them.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Can't continue. Yeah, so it's nice that the level is kind of open, so you can tackle it in any order you want. I don't think it has much effect on the narrative, but it's a nice little touch.
Yes.
Also, just the level design, they sort of tutorial these pits with some easy jumps.
I think honestly, I think it's quite nicely put together. And once you understand the thing about the shooting, even this bit is quite challenging because then you're trying to.
What it looks like down here.
Okay, so where were we? We're on gameplay. So,
so certainly
what are the mechanics? You've got jumping, shooting,
deciding whether or not to save each brother in exchange for more ammo.
So they kind of work. The controls work, and there's kind of meaningful play. I kind of would go for good for gameplay. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Bugs. There doesn't seem to be any bugs here. You not spot anything?
Not that I spotted.
No, I haven't spotted any bugs.
Do we think that it's a really complex game?
Not super complex. It's
got a number of different elements to it. They kind of.
Can I go back up? I guess I can.
Yes. Yeah, that's why your jump's so high.
The dialogue-y thing.
I like the bobbing after you. Is that intentional? Maybe not.
I don't know.
It doesn't seem to be.
So I would suggest that it's not a massively complicated game, but it's definitely not a simple game.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would maybe go between good and excellent for bugs.
Yeah, that seems fair.
But what about the story engine? So does the actions you take in the game affect the narrative? And does the state of the narrative affect the state of the game?
So you have the choice to kill or save each brother, which either gives you ammo or I assume if we could get through this, there would be a resolution in the form of you managed to save 5 out of 7 brothers kind of thing.
So, but that's just going one direction, right? So it's basically meaning we make narrative choices and that have consequences for how much ammo we have. But does the game actually change according to the state of the narrative? So according to those choices, does the game world reflect anything that we?
I think there is one point where it technically does, because I think once you've gotten to a certain point, there's somewhere there is a door that opens. But again, sort of progression is kind of the lowest common, like the lowest hanging fruit.
So there's a little bit there. So instead of the story engine, then satisfactory would be a simple story engine with limited integration with the game world. There are some examples where the story impacts the game, or it's impacted by events from the game world. And you're saying that it's sort of.
I think it probably hits that more than.
It hits that, but does it go slightly better than that because it's sort of got both things in it, but one was a bit limited? So we could argue that instead of being at the satisfactory level, it's between satisfactory and good. Depends how much you count that door opening.
I'm not sure I count it. I think that's almost gameplay.
Let's go for satisfactory. It's kind of we're sort of talking around that. So agency. Did they give us a map of the narrative?
They did not, but they did give us a little.
I'm noticing a common theme here, which is that if they don't give us a map of the narrative, it's normally a very bad sign in terms of the interactive elements of the narrative. Yep.
So they're tasked to defeat the 7 ravens and then either save or kill them. Unlike the original story in the video game, the brothers got killed along the journey to the well in a similar fashion like in 10 Little Soldiers by Agatha Christie.
Okay.
I've not seen 10 Little Soldiers by Agatha Christie, so that is not meaningful to me. So
Yes.
if you've drawn inspiration from something, be a little bit more descriptive about exactly why and how it fits. But then they go on to say, the development of each character contains another level of deepness by adding each of the 7 deadly sins to the brothers. Each brother represents a sin. This shows the motives and the reasons why each brother was killed. But this isn't talking about the narrative structure or the branching, or how your story branches.
Relevant to the techniques bit, but I'm also not sure it kind of comes across. You've got to be a little bit more obvious in a game, right?
So the dialogue is, it does sort of hint towards which
let's
sin they
take
represent.
this one, right? So after Ryan gets this, go and talk to them. Can we figure out which one it is? Don't believe me like this. So what?
Where they...
So it's Akim. Beware of them, they killed me. Okay, so which deadly sin is that?
It's the second night of our travel. In the afternoon, Ulrich, our brother, was coming from... Oh, they also made them all German because Brother's Grimm.
Yep, with the grim look on his face. Haha. Is it greed then?
Or gluttony. Yeah. See? That's...
Yeah.
Grabbing my last bite. Okay.
Each one
there's
does
another
have
story.
a different
Alright,
story.
But this
question
is techniques, right?
So, that, and also why the 7 deadly sins? What impact does that actually have on the story?
Yeah, and why?
But
also that's the next one.
But the last thing they mention in terms of branching and structure is there are 2 endings, a good one and a bad one.
Yeah.
The good ending is reached by saving all of the 7 brothers. If one brother is killed, the player gets a bad.
So it seems to me that what they've done is because you can tackle it in any order, they've got interchangeable sections, so you can encounter the story in these sort of 7 different parts in any order, and then you have a choice at the end. So the structure does help you manage the agency of the player. But are there any interesting choices in there? So you've got I suppose you've got this choice about how many of these brothers you save.
I think, it's not a branching narrative. I think the choices are relatively interesting because you have to weigh up.
Yeah.
Like, do I just spam the attack button and burn through all my ammo and have to kill some of them, or do I try really, really hard and make it harder on myself to get a good ending? So I think that's a reasonably interesting choice to make.
So satisfactory would be an interactive story with several branching points and a few interesting choices. And good would be an interactive story with several branching points, a few interesting choices, and some attempts to manage player agency.
I think this is the problem. The story itself doesn't branch, other than good ending.
Well,
bad ending.
You've got the choices of which brother you talk to in which order. So in a sense, it has that kind of structure to it. So you can change the sequence of interaction, and then a branch at the end.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's kind of for me it's the interesting choices bit. Right. So how interesting are the choices here?
I mean, you can get a different reading of the 7 Deadly Sins story by speaking to the different brothers in a different order, I guess.
Yeah.
But
because they don't change according to what you said.
Perhaps not.
Have you killed any of them yet? I've not been watching.
No.
Try doing this one. Just see. Does that do you get different dialogue or something like that, or do they disappear and you get some ammo?
Why did you do this, Tombstone?
Oh, yeah. It still gives you a heart though every time even if you kill them.
So I think for agency, it satisfactory, an interactive story with several branching points and a few interesting choices. I think I could give them that. The branching points are not obvious because it's just to do with the order in which you tackle the brothers, but there's one definite branch at the end.
Yeah.
And the interesting choices, they've attempted to give you an interesting moral choice, where you can kill the brother or not, and it becomes part of the challenge. And it kind of works, but I don't know, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I think the fact that the game is so punishing almost makes it harder to. It makes that choice feel irrelevant because I'm never struggling for ammo. I'm struggling for life.
Yes.
If it was a case of killing them gave you 2 extra hearts.
So for agency, I think satisfactory is.
Yeah, so
we're all happy it's at least there. What about the poetics? So how well does the theme of it and the mechanics of it fit the story? So what are you actually doing? You're running around, you're collecting your brothers and defeating them, and then sort of you only have enough ammo to.
So you're trying to.
The story is. I mean, it's not really about that, is it? The story is. You're sacrificing. She sacrifices her finger. She goes on a quest, fails to get the quest, and makes a sacrifice to save her brothers anyway.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happens in the story.
Whereas in this, you're kind of sacrificing your brothers to be able to save other brothers.
And so thematically, I think it's consistent.
But
your brothers haven't been turned into crows, but they've been turned into monsters. I think that's okay. It kind of works.
So they have layered this 7 deadly sins sort of motif on top of it. And, while we sort of encourage them to do their own spin on a particular story, I'm not sure what that adds to this one.
Other than the fact that there are 7 ravens and 7 deadly sins.
But also, if each of them represents a 7 deadly sin, why am I worried about saving them?
Yes. So it seems to me like, why is it more meaningful to do that than to have them be the 7 colours of the rainbow?
If it was almost trying to get them to overcome this sin, and that's what...
Yeah. And that's what would save them.
And then they could do something interesting where the mechanics of each brother's attack tie into, I don't know, something to do with it.
Yeah.
And then the sort of themes of that would carry across a lot more strongly.
So do you get the same ending if you kill one brother than if you kill all of them?
Based on what they've said, yes.
Yeah.
To find out, we'd have to get an ending.
I don't think that's going to happen. I'm too bad at this
So
game.
if we think about the poetics then, so in this case, is this another case that the narrative and gameplay don't really interfere with one another, but the key mechanics have little to do with the themes of the narrative?
I think it might be.
I think it is, isn't it? And the techniques, so in terms of pacing and in terms of the way that they've told the story, so the story's told through dialogue, which I think is quite effective.
But because the area is quite open and you can tackle it in any order, there's sort of inherently no pacing.
No. I mean, you can build that in if you bear it in mind, but yeah, it's
arguably things inherently get more tense as you go through it because you're running low on resources. But I'm not sure the pacing is incredibly strong here.
No, I don't think it is. So satisfactory would be some ascending pacing, at least of one game writing technique. And I think the problem is I'm not sure there is ascending pacing. So pass would be pacing unclear or flat, partially successful attempts to use at least one game writing technique. So I think they have used the dialogue quite well, actually. So I would say maybe lift that up from a pass and make it halfway between a pass and satisfactory.
Yeah, I think let's do that.
And what do they say for their feedback?
So they've not articulated it super well. We were told we were going in the right direction. There was more things to work on. One aspect included giving more decision to the player and adding a more compelling story.
Right.
So
what did they actually do as a result of being told that?
So they added dialogue to each raven and adding the unique character trait.
Okay. So I think the dialogue for the ravens works because that's if they hadn't had that, they wouldn't have it. They'd hardly have any story at all. They just have a premise, pretty much.
Yeah, and the other one they addressed through the 7 decisions given.
Yeah.
Which.
So again, they've tried. But
I mean, so the fact that they've added it has improved it.
Yes.
Like if they didn't have either of those things, then it would be doing much worse than it currently is.
Yes, I think so.
I think they definitely could have done some of these things better, but they've tried.
So that feels like satisfactory to me. Feedback's articulated and some changes have been attempted with partial success.
Yeah, I'd say possibly on the lower end of that just because of the way they've articulated some of this feedback.
Well, because they haven't explained it properly.
Not particularly well, but maybe I'm being overly critical.
Let's again, let's err on being generous. So as we discussed it, we'll go for satisfactory. Okay. I don't think you're going to finish anytime soon, are you, Ryan?
I don't think so.
Let's move on to the next game. So our final game is called the Three Monster. Maybe it should be called the Three Monsters, unless it's a monster.
It's a giant monster.
Three-headed beast, isn't it? We'll find out. The Three Monster.
What's got music?
Those monsters.
I think that answers that then.
Yep, so it's Three Monsters, right? There are no instructions. I have a feeling I remember seeing this in
Spacebar.
Expo.
I killed my parents.
Yeah.
Since my brothers disappeared.
All those years ago. I'm alone in the world. Just to kill them for what they've done.
Is it going to turn out that the monsters are actually secretly her brothers?
Well, thanks for the spoilers.
I'm just guessing.
An attack?
There we go.
I think so.
Kind of an adorable little sign.
See if you can jump on it. Right, that's a big floaty
That,
jump.
yeah, that the camera is locked to you and it feels very weird as you jump.
Okay. Can't get over that. Oh, you can
do
kill
it.
them.
So it forces you to sort of jump on it.
No, I remember playing this in the Expo, which they do a bunch of stuff like this. They basically watched the lecture we gave them on how not to make a punishing game, and they did all the things to make a punishing game.
Called it.
I am one of your brothers. See, I wasn't a partaker at home. That was the other two you're seeking. They wanted revenge. I like the floaty thing, isn't it? When you fail to bring water to you when you're born, I give you a choice. You really want it? By suffering yourself instead of hurting others. Kill me or cut off your finger. Whichever you choose, the path will open. We can reduce our max health.
Do we have health?
So
that they call it lives, but it's actually health.
Oh, okay.
So when you die,
So you just lose a life.
No, that's health. So when you regenerate, you effectively get those back again. But okay, let's carry on. Lives now reduced by 1.
Oh, okay.
Has it gone down?
No, because I think it was your max. So you start with 3, so now your max is 2. I think. My missing finger hurts so much.
Okay, so the dialogue is reflecting the choices we made
I had to do
previously.
it. I couldn't kill him. He's my brother. Did anything wrong? Okay. Still seem perfectly fine to hold the sword and shield, so that's good.
Oh, seems to be constantly running left. Okay, that's
Sticky keys. So the music's changing in a different area, which is kind of nice.
So we go up here. So this is also a bit where it gets pretty nasty.
yeah.
I spent about 10 minutes in the Expo on this level.
We could be here for a while then.
No, I'm sure Ryan is rather better at platformers than I am. So
I think I am.
So I asked them, I said, did you playtest this? And they said, yes, we played it, and some people were fine, and other people said it was really, really hard.
My lives are still at 2.
Let's start going through the criteria. So what do we think about the presentation of this game? So
The fact that there's just a big blue background is a bit disappointing, and some of these sprites don't really feel like they mash particularly well.
no, also some of the bits of the level are not lined up properly. So you get these kind of weird little jaggedy bits that catch you and things.
That's a bit of a shame. Music's nice, but
Yeah,
slightly let down by that. The information design of the... So, again, this might just be a scaling problem, but your health is tucked away right in the corner over there.
It is. And also, it's called the wrong thing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So you can't jump to the spikes. You have to jump, hit the wall, and then fall onto the things.
Yeah.
So, presentation then. Satisfactory will be key information shown, consistent graphics, some audio.
I feel like it might be slightly lower than that.
Yeah, I would say that the information design, the pass is some attempt at information design. consistent but poorly chosen graphics, some poorly chosen audio, effects on music. I don't think the audio is poorly chosen.
No.
I don't think there's any sound effects though.
No.
It's just music. So for me, I think it probably is a pass.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Gameplay. So what mechanics have you got? You can jump on things.
Left, right,
jump. You can jump on things to destroy them.
Yep. Avoid objects that kill you.
That's it.
So what's the point? So we've got a health of 2.
Yeah.
What is the difference between if we had a health of 3? Because those spikes kill us instantly.
Right. I think if you hit go and hit that little monster thingy, I think that will just take away 1. There you go, down into 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the problem. So you insta die if you land. So what's basically happening is you're actually dying and restarting completely. Whereas, so there's this weird inconsistency, which is why the whole health lives thing doesn't really work.
Yeah. Because those little monsters are not the bit we're struggling with this. So losing our health as sort of punishment for.
So gameplay. So I would say that you have a set of mechanics and you have usable controls, and it has led to some meaningful play. That's satisfactory.
I would argue that some of those mechanics are inconsistent, particularly the health and
you are right. Actually, the health and the insta kill is kind of out. So pass would be few or inconsistent mechanics, challenging controls.
I think
limited. So I think maybe between the two,
I think
pass and satisfactory. Bugs. Have you seen any bugs?
I haven't found any bugs apart from a couple of collision issues. I think maybe with the spikes doesn't really match up with what I'm seeing, but that could be just me being bad at games and coming up with an excuse.
So there you are.
And now you're going to fall immediately onto a pit of spikes.
Well, if you go up there and talk to him, do you think it'd help me out? Crazy monster downstairs with a prisoner, I can't get out. You broke the door if you hit it hard enough, or you might break a bone or something. Oh, let's break him out and break on.
It's not like the lives actually matter to us.
And then so this is odd, because we've got... we can't attack the door. Why can't we jump on it or something?
Attack it with our sword.
Yeah.
No, we're just going to punch it really hard.
Yeah. Okay. So right,
bugs-wise, we've not found any complexity of the game. It's okay. It's fairly simple. These platforms
disappear, but don't show you they disappear.
Oh, okay.
So again, that's literally an example.
Oh no! You got to go back and do that.
This is literally an example we talk about punishing play. It's things like those platforms don't disappear. The other platforms you find later on that look exactly the same do. And instead of sending you back to the screen directly before, or a kind of natural endpoint, which would be after these spikes, they send you right back to the beginning of the level. Right. So I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I think kind of if we're talking about kind of that's the meaningful play bit, isn't it? But anyway, okay, bugs. It's not really a bug though, in fairness.
Oh no. This is.
Yeah, found a bug.
So we're stuck on this platform that we can't actually jump on without dying.
So what's the bug?
We're stuck.
Oh, because you can't get off the end?
Yep.
Let's try again.
That's odd, because you did it before, didn't you?
Yep. So infrequent.
There we go.
Yeah, that's peculiar.
The door. Let's try again.
So here we go. So these are the ones that you're coming up to the ones that disappear. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh. What? So why did I even kill you? Because
that shouldn't have killed me.
You just sort of.
I hit the edge.
You didn't hit all of the platforms.
Maybe. No, that doesn't kill you. It's kind of like I hit the left-hand side.
Alright, but minor bugs and these are uncommon, or do we think the game's a bit It's slightly too simple for that.
Yeah, it's so in terms of the simplicity, I don't think it's there's a fair few bits going on. I think it's okay. So is that the only bug you found? Is that kind of slight glitch? So I mean, I think that's kind of, it might even be up in the it's punishingly difficult, which isn't making us feel very charitable towards it, right? But actually, there are only minor bugs and they're uncommon.
Yeah. All right.
Right. I mean, let's
call it good.
It's quite, it is good. It's just making us feel bad about ourselves, right? Okay, so this is going to be quite difficult because we're finding it so difficult to get to the content. But what do we think about the story engine?
I'm ignoring that guy now.
I mean, it might actually be, because we've seen so little of it, it might be worth talking about the agency and the actual structure they handed in first, so we know exactly what they're doing.
Let's do that. So they did provide us with a little diagram of their different choices. So as you might expect, the branch points are killing the first brother, rescuing this prisoner, killing the second brother, which if you leave that guy to his fate, you have no choice in, you have to kill him.
Otherwise you have to kill you.
Some more joins where they go through some more platforming sections, and then again, third brother, you have a choice between kill and spare him, and then based on the combination of choices you made throughout that, you get one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different endings.
Okay. Alright, so in terms of thinking about the story engine then, so you do make decisions in the narrative which do affect the game world, because you either does the state of the narrative? Oh yeah, and then the state of what you've done, that changes the ending you get, right?
That shouldn't have killed me.
No, that was peculiar. So I think it does go both ways, right? So good would be an effective story engine with integration with the game world, examples where the story impacts the game and is impacted by events from the game world. So I think it does achieve those, but
so you get moments like the fact that we cut our own finger off at the start of this level. We get a bit of dialogue saying "ow, my finger."
So I think there's an argument as to how effective it is, but I think it's there and it goes both ways. So I think the story engine is probably just about as good. Yeah. What about the structure then, the agency?
So they definitely have a number of different branches. They've sort of tried to manage it with split joins. So you've got these choices that sort of so they're branching in so much as they affect which ending you get. They don't affect sort of the gameplay or the narrative between points. Except for this choice here, where the guy you save in the prison will show up in the next boss fight and help you escape.
Yes. So satisfactory for agency will be an interactive story with several branching points and a few interesting choices.
And I was thinking, are the choices interesting, do you think? So,
well, if you cut off your finger,
you lose max health, but again, we never had a problem with health.
No.
Oh, now what?
Do you have to kill this?
I don't think you should have cut that here.
I was going to say, I think if you jump on top of that platform, it might trigger it.
I'm not convinced that the choices are interesting. They just seem to be. I can see what they were trying for again, but the consequences of you doing things don't really play out, do they?
I like that they've gone for do you want to do the good thing and sort of suffer a penalty?
Yeah.
And this will tie back into when we talk about theming, but you're right, because the consequences of them aren't super meaningful.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt us enough that it's an interesting choice. We've got no reason never to pick the good option.
So I would say this is probably a pass would be an interactive story with some branching points but few interesting choices. It might be a bit better than that, but I don't know if it's much better than that. Should we go for should we just err on the positive side? Why did you come down here?
Because that's the only way to go. I feel like this is.
I think maybe we can go that way, but now I'm just completely stuck.
But why were all those platforms there then?
To lure you down here.
What?
Because it's a punishing game.
But now I have to quit out in order to get back.
Yeah, there's...
So for unfortunately we don't have a camera on Tom, but you're pulling faces. So okay, let's finish off the agency one. I think that somewhere between a pass and satisfactory. Right? So a pass is an interactive story with branching points but few interesting choices. And I think what's going on here is that the choices are a bit more interesting than that, but because of the consequences, I wouldn't say it pushes up to the next category.
Yeah, okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Poetics.
You've given up.
Well, I can't leave.
Restart the game. Go on. Okay, we're all the way back to the beginning.
Great.
Marvellous. Poetics. So, do the gameplay and the narrative complement each other? The themes all the way. So again.
So this is where those choices come in. You're sacrificing. So you're literally giving up your finger, like in the original story. And that's having the mechanical sacrifice that you're making.
Yeah.
Given that that's the case, I'm kind of disappointed that when you talk to your brothers, it's a case of, do you want to kill your brother or save them?
Yeah.
And it's not integrated in the gameplay somehow.
No. So again, it's a bit like one we had earlier on, where I like the idea. The principle is a really good one, but it's just not executed enormously well. There's lots of horrible spikes down below.
If it was a case of you've got to jump on your brother 3 times to defeat them, and then you have a choice of do you jump on them again to finish them off, or do you spare them and carry on?
Yeah. So they're integrated in.
Shall I kill him this time?
But again, like why? Kill him.
Oh, you have to actually
how
fight
do
him.
we kill him?
Jump on him. Oh yeah. I had this problem with one of the brothers I chose to kill as well. There's some teleport to randomly different places. I think they did that so that he wasn't straight on top of you, but the effect is so disorientating. So in this case, for the poetics, good would be the narrative and the gameplay complement each other as the key mechanics are in keeping with the themes of the story. And satisfactory was that they don't interfere with one another.
I think it's certainly better than satisfactory.
Yes, I agree.
Is it
quite good?
It definitely intended to do that.
I think let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They have actually done it. They've executed it. You lose max lives when you make these sacrifices, and it kind of makes the gameplay more difficult in order to get a particular ending. And that's in the theme with the story.
Yeah.
So I think we can give them a good for that. Techniques.
So we've got some dialogue between the sister and the monsters.
Yeah.
And the sort of little monologue at the start.
There's an awful lot of game between the story bits, isn't there? And also, is there some? What's the pacing here? It's kind of difficult to tell because we've been in this level for so long.
I guess the pacing depends on how good you are at the game, because this wouldn't take very long if you were pretty good. Because it takes so long to get through it.
But again, it doesn't feel like it's.
So there's mechanical pacing. There's mechanical pacing and there's narrative pacing, right? So the difficulty might be increasing, but are the narrative stakes?
Yeah.
And I mean, to an extent, they are. There's, like you say, there's each brother.
Each brother gives you a. It feels to me like it's.
That
is. There you go.
I almost want to give them credit for that being like an ingenious thing, but the fact that we spent so long doing it is.
It's evil.
Also,
So-
I don't like the camera angle because I can't see what's down there.
No, but I think that's deliberate.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
He wants to kill me.
Oh,
Oh.
there you are. At least you know not to go down that hole anymore. So in terms of the techniques, I kind of feel that the pacing, I would say the pacing is unclear or flat. And I would say that there's partially successful attempt to at least use one game technique. And the reason I would say it's partially successful is because there's just simply not enough of it. Right? There's an awful lot. I've almost forgotten what we're doing because you've been playing this for so long.
Yeah.
So I would say this is a pass for the techniques.
I think that's reasonable.
Feedback, what do they say?
So for feedback, they said the initial plan for the game was giving the player the option of killing the NPC prisoner to gain a life or leaving them alive. We recommended they flip that because it's more in keeping with the themes of the story.
Yeah,
because
true.
sacrifice rather than doing something for the game.
Advantage, yeah.
They said they really liked this idea, so they tried to implement that in several places throughout the game, so additional choices.
Yeah.
The other piece of feedback they got was to make the impact of the decisions in the game, especially the one with the NPC prisoner on the second level, clearer to the player, to give them slightly more agency. So they tried to do that with some dialogue options describing what would happen. So So I know he says you might hurt your finger. Does he actually say anything about coming back later to help you out, or is that just a sort of
I can't remember.
A boon?
I think it says about the consequence of your lives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Buttons within the game which may be vague on their impact have had further detail added to clarify. So yeah, just sort of saying that if you do this, you'll lose a life, kind of thing.
So I mean, I think they've articulated
He says
the feedback they've
help you
had.
later.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Recommended to try and implement a system within the game to try and flesh out the protagonist more. So they added that extra dialogue at the start of every level.
Yeah.
So yeah, without that, there'd be virtually no story within it at all.
So I think they've articulated feedback. Do you think they've only had partial success, or do you think they've had some success? I still think it's partial. I think all the problems they've got are still problems. They're just not quite as bad because of the things they've done.
Yeah, they have certainly tried to address the things we asked them about, but they maybe could have again sort of taken it a little further. Why didn't kill him?
He murdered my parents. He's my brother. Okay.
Okay.
Off we go.
Those are very stationary bats.
So if we go for feedback, if we said satisfactory,
Yeah.
feedback was articulated and some changes we made with partial success. And I think that seems fair. Yeah, watch these because they collapse without any warning. People, don't make punishing games.
I feel committed to see this through to the end now, is the thing.
We'll be here for another half an hour.
How much is there after this? If we get through this, will we see the ending?
I got as far as this in the expo, but I can't remember. I think you meet the other brother here and you kill them.
Thank you for not killing
So
my brothers.
we can finish. It's your fault we returned to monsters in the
Run
first place.
away.
Right, bear in mind that the brother, when you kill him, will teleport back randomly. So watch out.
Okay, so in this one, so you know all those things I said earlier about it'd be nice if they integrated that choice into the gameplay, so you have to finish them off or defeat them and then you get to decide whether you finish them off. They actually did that for this one. So in this fight you bounce on him a couple of times and then he gives up.
Should be here in a minute.
So I suppose this is their attempt to do some pacing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's actually like a final boss
Nope,
battle.
there it is.
So
Never mind.
what do we give them? So for techniques we actually only gave them a pass. But it feels to me that this is a climax actually.
It is.
So I'd be tempted to not move that up a notch. And say that, you know, at least there's a climax to it.
Yeah.
So that would move them up to halfway between the two.
Alright, let's do that.
Pass and satisfactory. So we'll because we've seen this final sort of boss fight, we'll move it up. So techniques is halfway between pass and satisfactory.
Alright, let's move on before we discover any more bugs and bring them back down.
Okay. Well, I think that was our last game. So we will wrap up the video now, and we'll see you shortly for another video.